So this paper is November 2024, Unit 2. So the first question, it says, what is the perimeter of rectangle C? So you can see the rectangle C has got 3 and 7 there. So what I've done is I've drew a sketch of the rectangle. So you can see the lengths are 7 there and 3 and 3. And all we do is add all the outside up, which we have here, which is equal to 20. The second part of it, it says which two shapes have the same area. So when we look at it here, we've got shape A is 9 multiplied by 4, so it's length times width, which is 36 centimeters squared. And then we do the same for every rectangle there, so 2 times 10 for shape B, 3 times 7 for shape C, and 6 times 6 for shape D. Now, the question, as I said, was which two shapes have the same area? So we look down, we have A has 36 centimeters squared and D has 36 centimeters squared. This is why A and D are in the answer lines there. So for question B, a rectangle E has an area of 42 centimeters squared. Its length is 6 centimeters. What is the perimeter of this shape? So remember, the perimeter is always going around the shape. You add all your sides up, but you wouldn't have that as such. So you only have the length and the area. So the length here is 6. We have this thing here. And to get the area 7, what we've done is 42, the area divided by one of the lengths. And so if you divide by one of the lengths with the area, you'll get the other length in a rectangle. So we have 7 centimeters and we can fill in all the sides like this. And then as the question is asking for perimeter, we just add all these sides up and should be 26 centimeters. Okay, for question 2, it says angle A is twice the size of angle B. The diagram is not drawn accurately. What size is angle A? Now you can see I've written 1 and 2, so that just means that A is 2 times bigger than B. So what we're going to do first is just add 2 and 1 together. So there's kind of like 3 bits there. Next step is I've highlighted that a straight line is equal to 180 degrees. So those two angles there together would add up to 180 degrees. Next, we divide with the 3 here. So 3 bits would add up to these angles here. So if we divide 180 divided by 3, we have 60 for every bit. So B would equal 60, and A would be twice that size, which would be 60 multiplied by 2, which is 120. So you have the answer of 120 there. Question 3 is the weights in kilograms of rugby players are shown below. You have all these numbers here of all the different weights, and it says what is the range of the weights. Now the range just means biggest take away the smallest. So what you do is you take the biggest number out of those sets of numbers and the smallest, and you take them away. So you should have 20 as the answer when you subtract those two numbers together. Calculate the mean weight is the second one. You add all your numbers up and you divide with how many there is. So when we add all of them up, we get 914, and there's 8 numbers altogether. So 914 divided by 8 is 114.25, and that would be your mean. So the next one, question C, it says find your median weight. Median is just the middle number, but first of all, you have to put those numbers in order. So when you put them in order, you can cancel biggest, smallest, biggest, smallest, biggest, smallest until you get to the middle. Now there's 2 left in the middle here, so what you would have to do with those 2 numbers is add those 2 numbers up, and then you would need to divide them by 2 because you want to find halfway in between these two numbers. So the halfway point would be when you divide by 2, which is 113.5. So the final answer there, 113.5. Question 4 says the final scores in a golf competition are shown below. So you've got these scores on this table here. The best player was the player with the lowest score, and if you look up there, Scotty is the one with the lowest score with -6. What was the difference between the scores for Rory and Justin? So we know that Rory has C +7 and Justin has -5. So there's one way of doing this is we can create a number line. If you're a bit unsure how to go about this, you can create a number line and you can do +7 at one end, -5 at the other, and you can find the difference between them. So if you go from 7 to 0, that's a difference of 7, and then from 0 to 5, that's a difference of 5. So when we add these two together, it's got a total difference of 12, and that's what you would put in as the answer. So the next question, it says the team with the lowest total score won the competition. Which team won the competition? Show you're working out clearly. So the first thing to do is we would get the Europe's total score and USA's total score. So all we're doing is 7 take away 3 take away 5 plus 2. So it's basically just adding all these numbers up. USA is -2 plus 4 -6 plus 1, and then we work that out and it would be -3. So their totals would be +1 for Europe and -3 for USA. And you can see question has says they're looking for the lowest total. So the lowest total is USA, as -3 is lower than +1. Question 5 has 2/3 of the students in a school were entitled to free school meals. There were 741 students in the school. How many students were entitled to free school meals? First thing to do is it would be 2/3 of 741. What you do with this is the first step you would divide by 3 and then multiply by 2. So first of all, you can see here 741 divided by 3, which is 247, and then take that 247 and multiply by 2, which should be 494. So 2/3 of 741 is 494. Question 6, it says 2 shops were offering money off a games console. You've got Play Away and Game Garden. Play Away has £580 and its discount is 15%, and £560 is for Game Garden, and that's 20% off. So discount just means to kind of minus it or take it away. So it's asking you which shop offered more money off, and show you're working out clearly. So the first thing we want to do is find out what 15% of £580 would be. We have 15 over 100, which represents your 15%, multiplied by 580. And that would be £87 off. Next one, we do the same with Game Garden. We do 20% of 560. And this is how you would lay it out. 20 over 100 is your 20%, multiplied by 560. And that should be 112. So that means it's going to be £112 off. The question is asking which shop offered more money off. You can see that Game Garden offered more money off that price. Question 7 says Maisie has 33 vitamin tablets. She takes 7 vitamin tablets each week. How many vitamin tablets will she have left over after 4 weeks? First thing, what I've done, they could do it many different ways. This was one way of doing it. So you have week 1 is you have your 7 tablets. Week 2, 7 tablets. 3 again, 7, and week 4, 7. So what we want to find out is how many tablets overall did she do for 4 weeks, which was 28. So it's 7 plus 7 plus 7 plus 7. 4 lots of 7, 7 times 4 is 28. Now we know that she has 33 vitamin tablets, and the question is asking how many vitamin tablets will she have left after 4 weeks. So she's already used 28, and we take 28 away from the 33 there, and we have 5. So she's got 5 tablets left after the 4 weeks. Question 8. Damien is a delivery driver for a food takeaway. He is paid £3 for each local delivery. So this is what's highlighting here. £3 for L for local. £5 for each non-local delivery. So £5 represented by 5 here, and N for non-local. To calculate the total amount of money T he is paid, Damien uses the formula. So if you add the local plus the non-local, you should get the total amount of money. So it says use this formula to calculate the total amount he is paid when he makes 8 local deliveries and 5 non-local deliveries. So the first thing you can see, I've actually put the formula to start off with. The second part is we fill in where the L is and the N is. So the question says he made 8 local deliveries. So where the L is, we do 3 times 8. So that just means 3 times L, 3 times 8. 5N is, you can see that 5 non-local deliveries. So that's just 5 multiplied by 5. We work out the multiplication, which is 24, and add 25. And then at the end, we work it out to be 49. So that's the total of it, and you would put 49 in the answer line there. So question 9, it says Matthew, Karen and Jamie were trying to work out the value of 5 cubed. Matthew thought it was 15, Karen thought it was 125, Jamie thought it was 8. Who was correct? So 5 cubed does not mean 5 multiplied by 3. What it means is 5 multiplied by 5 multiplied by 5. That is 5 cubed. And when you put that in a calculator, you should get 125. So Karen was correct because 5 times 5 times 5 is 125. Question 10 says Kiara and Len were each given £40 as a Christmas present. Kiara spent 17 out of 20 of the money she was given. Len spent 80% of the money he was given. Who spent more of their money? So first of all, we have to work out what Kiara spent. We've got 17/20ths of 40. Now you could have put 17 over 20 multiplied by 40 into a calculator if you felt like it, but there's another way of doing this. You could just do 40 divided by 20, which is 2, and then multiplied by 17, which is 34. So then we have to work out what Len spent. So it's 80% of 40 this time, and it's working exactly the same way. So it's 80% of, so 80% is represented as 80 over 100 of 40. So we have 40 divided by 100, which is 0.4. You can use your calculator to work that out. And then you multiply by 80, which is 32. So that just means that Kiara has spent £34 and Len has spent £32. So the final answer is who spent more of the money? It is Kiara, as Kiara spent £34, which is more than 32.